Hello everybody, it's me, Silent Eric, and we have some new reveals. This is coming out a bit later than usual, but you know, it is what it is. So you might have seen this already, but let's go ahead and go over my takes on the new champion, Janna, for PnZ. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and let's see.
You called and I answered.
All right. Let's take a little look-see here. 4 mana, 2/4, play Updraft 2. If you recall Updraft, that is putting cards in your hand back in your deck but reducing their cost by 1. And that lets you draw 2 cards at the next round start. And each round, the first 3 times you draw a card, reduce its cost by 1 this round. So you play Janna, next round start, you're going to draw 3 cards, 1 normally and 2 at round start. They're all going to cost 1 less. If it's one of those updrafted cards, it's going to cost less again. So this is PnZ card draw and cost reduction. Just play more stuff. This is going to be great for spell slinging. It only reduces the cost that round, so it's not really a control thing. This is definitely going to help with like PnZ being a bit more aggressive, which is kind of neat. Level up, I've seen you play 6 cost-reduced cards. I'm not sure how many ways you can cheat that. Like trying to do that early? Because I can think of Victor, but you have to level up Victor to make that happen. Obviously, Updraft is going to do it. Janna herself, as long as you're drawing cards and playing the cards you draw, that's going to do it. Is there anything that reduces costs on its own? I guess there's the Augmented Clockling, but that's another 4-drop. That's not early. Yeah, I don't think there's anything quite early here. You can find some cost reduction in Demacia for units, but that's about it. Yeah, very interesting. I don't think there's currently a way to cheat this super early. You're going, and it's I've seen. Ooh, that's even tougher. Maybe just mixing it with Targon, because Targon does lower the cost of things. Yeah, no wonder this has such a defensive stat line. Anyway, let's keep going. Hopefully the audio is all good for you guys.
Just looking for a sign.
Okay. Throwing out some chump blocks. They're burning.
Let this draft guide your hand.
Ooh, all that cheap stuff.
Lift us up upon your mighty wings, old friend.
That is a new voice for Janna.
To move our world.
Leap of faith, huh? You'll catch me, right?
Or updrafting.
Oh, I love that for you.
Perhaps the answer lies in others, not yourself.
A lot of quick attack. That's nice.
I will aid you, Mila, for you face monsters.
It is the monsters that face me.
Sunken Temple. Obviously, all this card draw does work with Nyla. Neela?
I cast thee out. I sense such joy within you, but also pain. Board upon the driving gale.
Whoa! Janna just ascended? Took on a much more godlike divine form. It definitely reminds me of the Ascended. It reminds me of the Targonian aspect type stuff. But Janna is a old god, like a Shuriman god from before the Ascended. That's interesting. I don't know if that has lore implications or if that's rather just showing us the way Janna has should be now, but that's interesting. In any case, let's look at the mechanics. Obviously, 4 mana gets +1/+1, so it's a 3/5 now, and now it's elusive. Makes sense for a flying thing. Round start, draw 1. You're now drawing cards every turn, and when you draw a card, reduce its cost by 1 this round. So it's no longer the first 3. You lose out on that play effect as well. No more updrafting and extra card draw, but rather you're just no more burst card draw of 2 more, I should say, but rather you're just constantly drawing 1 more, just like with a Jinx deck. Janna Jinx actually might work well together too, as long as you can play all the cards you're drawing and actually empty your hand. That could be an interesting way to go. Janna Madness. But let's keep going. All right, so just doubles down on the card draw cost reduction thing. The real benefit here, because you're already reducing 3, as long as you're not drawing more than 3 cards in a round, you're already reducing stuff, and this isn't making the reduction permanent. So the level up is actually not that important. It's just giving you a lot more consistent card draw, and it's making it elusive. This definitely is a good example of a support champion. Janna feels a lot like Zilean, where that's not really a win condition. It's just giving you as long as Janna stays alive, you are getting so much value that it's can be hard for them to come back unless they actually have removal. I think Janna's going to feel very similar to Zilean.
With wind in our sails, onward! Your faith in me has been rewarded.
Okay. Very interesting. Yeah, this very much feels like a PnZ Zilean.
Does it concern you, our venture into the unknown?
Next up, we're heading to Freljord, where Neela is seeking the Volibear. Let's go into depth on these new cards, though. So, I've already talked about Janna and what I feel. This is definitely a PnZ Zilean, for sure. It's doing similar things, but it's actually having an effect on the first side, which makes sense. It costs 4 instead of 2. Its stat line, not that great for a 4-drop at all, but that is certainly a powerful effect. You're getting that play effect even if they immediately remove the Janna. And in fact, the leveled up Janna, if you level up a Janna and then they remove your Janna, and then you play another Janna and then they remove that one immediately, you are no longer getting an immediate effect. So the level 1 Janna kind of has some benefits over the leveled up Janna. Leveled up Janna is just a lot better if you can protect it, keep it on the field. But as a 4-drop with just a updraft 2 cards, draw 2 replacement cards, next round start, just a little bit of mulligan, super worth it. Janna is going to be really good. You're definitely going to see Janna. Even just kind of similar to how Vi used to be, where people would just run it in a deck when they just had a champion slot. I think Janna's going to fill a very similar role. It'll be able to work with things like Victor, things like Zoe. I think Targon is an easy choice. The new Wildfire stuff, this card draw that you're getting, is going to make that work a lot more. She's very flexible. I don't think there's many places you're not going to want to run her. Although I do think the thing is everyone likes card draw, and although this is going to be beneficial for more aggressive burn type strategies, and a lot of times Control wants to, keep your stuff back and play a more defensive combo oriented win condition. And that's not always, the stars aren't always going to align with Janna. Control likes card draw. Control doesn't mind updrafting cards to draw cards and have them cost less. Janna will find a home in some control shells too, I think. But let's move on to Eye of the Storm, which is the champion spell as well. 4 mana burst, quite a bit of mana, more than 3, which is a heavy threshold. But it draws you 2, so a 4 mana draw 2, those are often 5 mana nowadays. And give an ally attack, not health. That's important. PnZ still not very good at protecting their units, but when it comes to helping a quick attack unit actually surprise, make a trade that it would have, or rather kill a unit that would have been successful block, it's able to do that. And if nothing else, you can just play it to draw 2. 4 mana draw 2 is totally worth it. Then we get Windborn Mariner. If you've drawn 3+ cards this round, I cost 2 less. So a lot of this you can think of. We've seen some of that already. But Eye of the Storm costing 4. If you have a Janna out, it costs 3. If you drew it that turn, then you'll draw 2 more. Those will cost less. Windborn Master will be free at that point, so you could just drop that. If you draw Windborn Master, it'll cost 1. If you draw a bunch of cards, it's going to cost 0. So this is just kind of very similar. Once again, looking at the Predict deck, it's very similar to the Drop Board Rider, where, although it's a 3-1 quick attack instead of a 1-3 just chump blocker. We move on for a 2 mana 2-3, great stat line. Won't help against Fearsomes though, but will block most decks pretty well. Updraft 1 to refill your spell mana. That is very good. So lose a card but get 3 mana. You can do that on turn 2, which means that you have 6 mana on turn 3, which is going to be great for Jace Heimerdinger. Jace is going to love that. That, I don't know if it's not gonna replace Reggie, I don't think. But it definitely kind of goes in that deck pretty well, I think. That's a great turn 2 for a Jace deck. Sunken Temple, 5 mana landmark. Round end, updraft your entire hand. That'll level up Jinx, that's pretty good. Round start, draw that many cards +1. So this seems like a better version of University of Piltover, which is one of the first landmarks and never really found a place. A little bit too random, a little bit too expensive. Sunken Temple is not giving you completely random cards that you might not even be able to afford. This is updrafting, so it's reducing the cost of your deck, and then it's giving you cards from your deck. So it's just mulliganing every turn. It is a way more consistent version of University of Piltover, and therefore much better. Probably still worth running if you really need to dig for certain cards. Updrafting your hand and then drawing a new hand every turn will help you find those cards, which is important for those types of decks that shuffle copies of itself back in. The Go-Hards, the Wildfires, the Bursting Backpacks, and the Encroaching Mist, I think. The one that came out in the Variety Pack. All of those pretty much work with Sunken Temple very well. Now we take a look at Gale Song Call, a 1 mana slow spell for PnZ, summons a 2-1 with a 2-1 bird. Yeah, totally reasonable. Get yourself a bird, and yeah, 1 mana for a 2-1, totally fine. You're using spell mana for it. It's an elemental, which the more that matters, the more this will be fine. I don't think you're going to main deck this very often, but you won't mind when you get it randomly when you're running either Bilgewater or Conchologist with Bandle City. You'll be fine with it. Howling Gale. 3 mana slow, deal 2 to a unit, increase my damage by 1 for each other card you've played this round up to 3 times. So, this is an elemental card that does damage, which is important to note because of one of the first cards revealed that actually will increase this thing's damage. So suddenly it can become 3 mana for 3 damage, which is great. If you wait till later in the turn to play it after doing some stuff, hey, it's going to cost it's going to be even more cost efficient. If you have a Janna out and then you draw this and it costs less, or you updraft it so you draw it later, hey, it's going to be even more efficient. This is something that can be 5 damage on its own, possibly more with elemental support, for possibly 2 mana. It can get very, very efficient, but it definitely you want to build it up. But you use it as soon as it's going to be lethal, essentially. Yeah, very cool card. That will be very interesting to play around. Going to be great with Victor, specifically. Victor generates very low-cost created cards, and you can use those to build up your Howling Gale while you're just trying to bide out the opponent, see what they play, and then react to it. Howling Gale is going to be very good with Victor, and that kind of like reactive deck. Finally, Divine Whirlwind, 5 mana fast. Deal 3 to a unit and 2 to the enemy nexus. It's an elemental, so that those damage numbers can go up. The cost can go down if you draw 3+ cards this round. It'll cost only 3. If Janna is out, hey, it'll cost even less. Yeah, so 3 to a unit, 2 to the enemy nexus. That's obviously really good if you're doing it for 3 mana. For 5 mana, you're doing 5 damage for 5 mana. That's on curve, so it only gets better. That is definitely going to be a good card. A lot of times you're going to want to be more efficient, so you'd rather have a Get Excited. But if you have the card draw, this is going to be a way better version of a Get Excited. So you'll just love to play this. Gale Song Flock. Summon that 2/1 and grant it +1/+1 for each other elemental spell and skill you've played this game, and then draw 1. So this is going to be 5 mana for a 2/1, which is terrible, but maybe it'll have better stats if you're running an elemental deck. It'll draw you a card, which is worth like a mana and a half, maybe. All in all, not crazy good, because all you're getting is a bird. It's not like it's elusive or anything. So I don't really highly rate Gale Song Flock. Seems like the weakest one we've seen today. I'd love to be proven wrong though. And then we get Skilla. What is that? Ayaskilla, Figurehead of the Deep. 6 mana 4/4. When you play an elemental spell or skill, you're going to copy it with the same targets. So Gale Song Flock getting you 2 units for 5, way better. Divine Whirlwind doing 4 damage to the enemy nexus and 6 to a unit, way better. All these cards are just going to be really way better as long as you have this 6-drop 4/4 out and alive. Yeah, if you're trying to do an elemental deck, then you're going to want to run this. So far it looks like an elemental deck would be making use of the 2 things that care about playing elemental spells or skills. Bilgewater PnZ, I guess. It's not even necessarily a Nyla Janna thing. It's just like its own deck, really. You're not really rewarded for, because neither of them have elemental skills. They just have themed cards. And lastly, we have the Exalted Cloudwinder, which we saw in the video. 5 mana for a 3/2. Terrible stats. When I'm summoned, draw 2 at the next round start, and it has quick attack. Okay, so it has a nice summon effect, so that's good. And if you've drawn 3+ cards this round, I cost 2 less. So, Divine Whirlwind, 5 mana for 5 damage. It was fine. It's fine at that cost. And costing 3 makes it crazy good. 3 mana for a 3/2 quick attack is what you would expect. So you're not getting a really good unit, even with that cost reduction. Although, if you get this off of Janna, it's going to cost only 2 mana, which is really good. That's still alright. 2 mana for a 3/2 quick attack. That's decent, but not crazy. The biggest thing is that this is going to draw you another 2 cards. So this synergizes extremely well with Janna, because if you get this off of Janna, it's going to be 2 mana, and then the turn after you'll draw another 3 cards, and all those will be cost reduced. That's going to be a lot of card draw for Nyla, so you're definitely going to run this in a Janna deck just because the rolling card draw that it's going to do for you is going to be really good. But you're going to hate playing this at 5 mana. So definitely try to avoid doing that. Try to use Eye of the Storm, maybe, or something like that to reduce its cost ahead of time. But yeah, those are all of the new cards. Make sure to leave a comment down below letting me know what you guys think. Anything here you're excited to play with. I like Janna. Janna, I think, is going to be very flexible. But Janna definitely does not seem... just seems like a good support that's going to be there to help any deck work a little bit more efficiently, a little bit more card cheaty. Very reminiscent of the Path of Champion power of cards costing less when you draw them. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Make sure to check me out tomorrow. Leave a subscribe so you don't miss out, as we're going to see possibly some Volibear cards. I don't think we're going to get actual Volibear until Monday. But we're going to get some support cards most likely. So I have a feeling so far neither of them have had anything to do with Elemental specifically. So we'll see if Volibear is a third one that's like does elemental things but doesn't care about elementals, which I think would make sense, that they just have all this elemental setup leading up to someone that really should care about elemental effects, which would be Kiana more than any other champion. That's not going to be released with this set unless it's a big surprise, but I don't think they're going to do that. In any case, I'll see you guys tomorrow. That's enough rambling. You guys have a good one.